Presented by Raytheon, making the world a safer place.
Well, this week in campaign 2018 election hacking, we're taking a closer look at how cyber attacks are ramping up with the midterms less than 2 weeks away. Data shows that cyber attacks are increasing as we get closer to the election, and hackers are focusing in on a few key races. Those include races in states such as Arizona, Florida, Tennessee, and Nevada, where voters will determine the balance of power in Congress.
CNET senior producer Dan Patterson spoke with Republican strategist Chris Wilson. He explained what hackers may look for when targeting a campaign.
But if I were to look around the country and see some of these smaller efforts that maybe don't have anyone who's been involved at a presidential level in the past, those are the ones I'd look at and say, if I were trying to hack, not that I want to give advice in that, I'd probably focus on one of those races.
Our Dan Patterson joins us now. So we're days away from the midterm elections. Where are we seeing these attacks happen?
Yeah, so as we saw on the map that just played, battleground states all across the country have seen a not gradual uptick, but a sudden uptick in malware. This started in about July 2018 and continues to this day.
Wow.
So what type of attacks are we seeing? So the question, I guess, the first one was where, now what type?
Yeah, so when we say malware, we mean everything from ransomware to ad trackers to, air quotes, suspicious applications. We say suspicious applications because these, much like Cambridge Analytica in March 2018, these are gathering information and a part of a two-pronged attack. So first, according to the data scientists we spoke with, hackers will gather information using these kind of suspicious applications. If you remember adware from the 90s or early 2000s, it would pop something up. That was used for marketing purposes to target you with advertisements. Hackers use it for kind of the same reasons, to gather information about their victims and then target them with, we said it before, we'll say it again, with phishing attacks.
And ad blockers don't work?
Well, ad blockers do work for some type of, to block some types of applications, but they're not always effective. And when we say applications, we also mean things on your phone.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
right.
phishing attacks, we're the problem. You said phishing before, I'll say it again.
Right.
We are the problem when you
Yes.
fall for these things. So, you know, in the 2016 election, during the 2016 election, what we learned was that not only were these attacks happening here, but we knew about them because we'd seen them happening at during other elections, other places around the world.
Right.
Are we seeing similar attacks elsewhere?
Yeah, so I spoke with Komodo, which is kind of like the Bloomberg of cybersecurity. They have visibility all over the world and gather information on malware, ransomware, that kind of thing. So yes, just before elections in places like Russia, Turkey, Azerbaijan, places where democracy is under threat, we see this rise of malware. And it is not, you can read our story on CBSNews.com, it is not a gradual increase. These are spikes that happen just before elections.
Wow.
So I asked about ad blockers. What kinds of defensive tactic campaigns could be using to prevent these types of attacks?
Well, on both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans are using different types of cybersecurity defensive tactics, like using hard keys. These are key fobs. Google makes one. A few other companies make one that have your password on a remote key. They also rotate their encryption keys, which means if you steal a password once, it may not work in a month. They segregate data on their servers so that if you are able to access data about one state, it won't let you access data about another state. So I spoke with Chris about this, and he had some pretty good things to say.
We do things like rotating encryption keys, double-factor authentication. We make sure that all of our AWS instances are segmented by clients. So there's no commingling of data, even though we keep all of our data, our voter file information together. All the client information is separate. So if somebody were to hypothetically try and get in to the Arizona data file, or our Arizona file, or the Texas one, there wouldn't be, if they even got into one, they wouldn't be able to get into both. And then I think most importantly, for our data science team, they all have hard keys. So if they were to hypothetically lose their laptop, or if something like that were to occur in that, if even there was attempted breach on some of our security, we would be able to control that from our offices and make sure that it was mitigated.
Yeah, so Chris is a GOP strategist, which kind of underlies the point that this is cyber attacks happen on both sides of the aisle. And the point of cyber attacks is not necessarily to hack one election for one purpose. It is to undermine our faith and confidence in democratic institutions. And that's the real threat of election hacking.
That gets lost a lot in the translation because a politician, the president, the Democrats will say, well, it was for this candidate or that candidate, without realizing that these nefarious actors do not care. They just want to, as you point out, Dan, to cause us to lose faith in the bedrock of our democracies, which is the vote.
That's so chaos and instability.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Dan, as always, thank you for your insights.
Good
we
to see
appreciate
you.
it. For more of Dan's reporting on this, check out cbsnews.com/election hacking. And this Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, Dan will answer some of your biggest questions about election hacking. You can participate in that conversation by joining in on CBS News' Facebook and Twitter pages. You're doing an Ask Me Anything for Facebook and Twitter? That's cool. Then Dan will be back next Wednesday again, and we will air some of the hottest topics from that conversation.